You sit on your couch and watch your cat corner a small spider, or perhaps a mouse that wandered inside. You see something unsettling. Your cat does not just kill it quickly or cleanly, it swats it. It lets the creature run a few feet away, only to pounce on it again. It tosses the exhausted animal into the air, pinning it to the floor over and over. Why do they do this? It looks entirely sadistic. It looks like the animal you feed expensive kibble to is actually a tiny, furry psychopath that enjoys the suffering of others. But what you are watching is not a game. It is not cruelty. For millions of years of evolution, this bizarre dance was not a preference. It was the razor-thin line between life and death. To understand this, you have to completely erase the image of the safe. Modern living room. You must travel back roughly 100,000 years. You are standing in the harsh, unforgiving scrublands and deserts of the Middle East. Here, the ancestor of every domestic feline on Earth, the African wildcat, steps quietly onto the scorching sand. This creature is small. It weighs barely 10 pounds. It is entirely alone in a vast wilderness. There is no pack to back it up, no herd to hide within, and no alpha to bring it food. Out here, a solitary predator faces a brutal and uncompromising reality. Every single meal requires risking its own life. Have you ever considered how dangerous a desperate animal can really be? The wildcat spots a desert rat among the dry brush. The rat is cornered. When an animal is trapped with no escape, its brain floods with survival hormones. It becomes a frantic, thrashing weapon of sharp teeth and frantic claws. If the wildcat simply dives in for a quick, merciful kill to the neck, it must put its most vital and delicate organs directly in the line of fire. Its eyes, its nose, its throat. In the wild scrubland, there is no medicine. There are no second chances. A single, lucky scratch to the cornea from a desperate rat means the wildcat goes blind in one eye. A blind, solitary predator cannot hunt effectively. A predator that cannot hunt will starve in a matter of days. How much risk would you take if a single paper cut could end your life? This extreme vulnerability is exactly why the behavior you perceive as torture evolved. The wildcat stalks forward. It does not bite. Instead, it uses a lightning-fast swat. It strikes the rat and immediately pulls its paw back out of range. It lets the rat run a few desperate steps. Then it strikes again. This is a highly calculated strategy of physical exhaustion. The wildcat is systematically draining the energy reserves of its prey. It is forcing the rat to expend its explosive, dangerous energy on empty air. By tossing the prey, batting it away, and letting it scurry in sheer panic, the cat is actively testing the creature. Is it still capable of fighting back? Is it safe to approach with an open mouth? In the mid-20th century, a renowned ethologist named Paul Leyhausen conducted groundbreaking observations on feline predatory behavior. He spent years meticulously studying how cats interact with their prey in controlled environments. His findings completely dismantled the myth of the cruel predator. He discovered that the swatting, tossing, and releasing behavior is entirely rooted in deep, instinctual caution. Leyhausen proved that the more dangerous or unfamiliar the prey, the longer this exhaustive sequence lasts. A small, harmless insect might be eaten instantly, but a large rat, a venomous snake, or a bird with a sharp beak possesses formidable weapons. The cat is not playing a game for its own amusement. The cat is actually managing its own fear. It is maintaining a strict, calculated distance between its fragile eyes and the frantic defenses of its target. Nature equipped these solitary hunters with the perfect anatomical tools for this exhaustive combat. Consider the front leg of the feline. It is not just a foot for walking. It is a highly sensitive, articulating weapon. Unlike a wild canine, which hunts primarily by grabbing with its mouth, a wildcat uses its forelegs like arms. Have you ever noticed how fluid and flexible feline shoulders are? Wildcats do not have rigid collarbones connecting their front limbs to their skeleton. Their shoulder blades are attached to the rest of their body almost entirely by muscle. This incredible biological adaptation allows them to reach out at impossible angles. It allows them to strike with blistering speed, hook their curved claws into a target, and pull back before the prey even registers the impact. The reaction time of a striking wildcat is so fast that it operates almost entirely on reflex. It bypasses the higher processing centers of the brain. When they swat at a venomous snake in the wild, They are relying on fractions of a second. They hit the head of the snake to disorient it, keeping their own face entirely out of range. It is a martial art honed over millennia of solitary combat. Every toss, every flick of the paw, and every moment of hesitation is a calculated assessment of threat. The wildcat is reading the muscle tension of its prey. It is watching the respiration rate. It is waiting for the exact moment when the prey experiences complete muscular failure. Only then, when the risk of a counterattack drops to absolutely zero, does the wildcat move in for the end. And even the final kill is a masterpiece of cautious engineering. Cats do not just bite randomly and hope for the best. They have specialized canine teeth equipped with highly sensitive nerve endings. When they finally bite down on the neck of their exhausted prey, these nerves allow them to physically feel their way through the muscle and fur. They feel for the exact gap between the cervical vertebrae, the bones of the neck. Once they find that gap, they bite down hard, sliding their teeth between the bones to cleanly sever the spinal cord. It is surgical, it is instant, and it is only performed when the cat is certain it will not be injured in the process. But here is the most fascinating, mind-bending twist about feline biology. You might wonder why a perfectly well-fed animal, whose food bowl is completely full, will still spend 20 minutes batting around a captive mouse without ever eating it. If it is not hungry, why hunt at all? Why expend the energy on this exhaustive dance if it does not need the calories? The answer lies in the deeply unusual architecture of the feline brain. In almost all other predatory animals, the feeling of hunger is what drives the hunt. The two actions are linked, but in cats, the neurological circuit for hunting and the neurological circuit for eating are completely separated. They operate independently of each other. Why would nature design a brain this way? Think about the size of a wildcat's natural prey. A small desert mouse provides barely enough calories to sustain a wildcat for a few hours. A solitary predator in a barren landscape cannot afford to wait until it feels hunger pangs to start looking for food. If it waits until its stomach is growling and then misses its strike, it will rapidly lose the energy needed to try again. It will spiral into starvation. Therefore, evolution wired the feline brain to hunt constantly, proactively, and obsessively. The drive to stalk, pounce, and bat is permanently turned on, regardless of how full their stomach is. The predatory drive must be triggered by visual cues, not digestive ones. When a wildcat sees a fluttering moth or a rustling leaf, the predatory circuit fires automatically. It is an unstoppable biological imperative. But if the cat has recently eaten, the separate eating circuit remains totally dormant. This creates a fascinating biological paradox. The cat executes the ancient software program for exhausting, dangerous prey, but it lacks the internal chemical trigger to deliver the final, killing, bite, and consume the meat. So, it simply gets stuck in a loop. It bats. It releases. It catches again. Ethologists call this a vacuum activity. It is an instinct performing itself in a void, firing off simply because the hardware demands it. The cat is essentially trapped in the rehearsal of survival, driven by ancient neurons that refuse to power down. Let us return to the unforgiving sands one last time. This separation of brain circuits was an absolute masterpiece of survival engineering. The wildcat had to be an opportunistic killing machine to endure the desert. It had to catch 5, 6, or 7 small rodents a day just to maintain its body weight. It had to be triggered by the mere movement of a shadow in the dry grass. It could never afford to be lazy. It could never afford to be full. Every single movement that mirrored the scurry of a rodent or the flutter of a bird had to be investigated, attacked, and exhausted. The wildcat survived the harsh ancient world exactly because it could not turn off the urge to swat at moving things. Millions of years of this high stakes, life or death calculus are encoded directly into the DNA of the animal sleeping at the foot of your bed today. The environment has changed completely. The threats are gone. The food is plentiful and served on a ceramic dish, but the internal software remains exactly the same. The instincts that kept their solitary ancestors alive in a world full of venom and sharp teeth are still running perfectly beneath their soft fur. So, the next time you sit on your couch and watch your cat corner a small spider or bat a toy mouse across the hardwood floor, you will see it differently. You are not looking at a cruel, tiny psychopath enjoying a sadistic game. You are watching a fragile, solitary survivor practicing the ancient, calculated art of staying alive in an unforgiving world. If you want to keep decoding the hidden, wild truth behind the animals in your life, hit the subscribe button and join us next time.